Complete works of Swami Vivekananda, inspired talks. In that, today we are going to see his talks on Monday, July 15, 1895, recorded by Miss S. E. Waldo, a disciple of Swami Vivekananda. Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shri Ganeshaya Namaha. Where there is polyandry, as in Tibet, women are physically stronger than the men. When the English go there, these women carry large men up the mountains. In Malabar, although of course polyandry does not obtain there, the women lead in everything. Exceptional cleanliness is apparent everywhere, and there is the greatest impetus to learning. When I myself was in that country, I met many women who spoke good Sanskrit, while in the rest of India, not one woman in a million can speak it. Mastery elevates and servitude debases. Malabar has never been conquered, that is Kerala, never been conquered either by the Portuguese or by the Muslims. The Dravidians were a non-Aryan race of Central Asia who preceded the Aryans, and those of southern India were the most civilized. Women with them stood higher than men. They subsequently divided, some going to Egypt, others to Babylonia, and the rest remaining in India. Next, Tuesday, July 16, 1895, about Shankara, Shankara's philosophy by Swami Vivekananda. The unseen cause or mass of subtle impressions leads us to the sacrifice and worship, which in turn produce seen results. But to attain liberation, we must first hear, then think or reason, and then meditate upon Brahman. The result of works, that's called Shravana, Manana, and Nididhyasana. The result of works, that's karma, and the result of knowledge are two different things. Do and do not do are the background of all morality, but they really belong only to the body and the mind. All happiness and misery are inextricably connected with the senses and body. It is necessary to experience them. The higher the body, the higher the standard of virtue, even up to the Brahma. But all have bodies. As long as there is a body, there must be pleasure and pain. Only when one has got rid of the body can one escape them. The Atman is bodiless, says Shankara. No law can make you free, you are free. Nothing can give you freedom if you have it not already. The Atman is self illumined. Cause and effect do not reach there. And this disembodiedness is freedom. Beyond what was or is to be is Brahman. As an effect, freedom would have no value. It would be a compound, and as such, would contain the seeds of bondage. It is the one real factor, not to be attained, but the real nature of the soul. Work and worship, however, are necessary to take away the veil, to lift off the bondage and illusion. They do not give us freedom, but all the same, without effort on our own part, we do not open our eyes and see what we are. Shankara says further that Advaita Vedanta is the crowning glory of the Vedas. But the lower Vedas are also necessary because they teach work and worship. And through these, many come to the Lord. Others may come without any help but Advaita. Work and worship lead to the same result as Advaita. Books cannot teach God, but they can destroy ignorance. Their action is negative. To hold to the books and at the same time open the way to freedom is Shankara's great achievement. But after all, it is a kind of hair splitting. Give man first the concrete, then raise him to the highest by slow degrees. This is the effort of the various religions and explains their existence and why each is suited to some stage of development. The very books are a part of the ignorance they help to dispel. Their duty is to drive out the ignorance that has come upon knowledge. Truth shall drive out untruth. You are free and cannot he made so. So long as you have a creed, you have no God. He who knows, knows nothing. He who knows that he knows nothing. Who can know the knower? There are two eternal facts in existence, God and the universe. The former unchangeable, the latter changeable. The world exists eternally. Where your mind cannot grasp the amount of change, you call it eternally. You see the stone or the bas relief on it, but not both at once. Yet both are one. Can you make yourself at rest even for a second? All yogis say you can. The greatest sin is to think yourself weak. No one is greater. Realize you are Brahman. Nothing has power except what you give it. We are beyond the sun, the stars, the universe. Teach the godhood of man. Deny evil, create none. Stand up and say, I am the master of all. We forge the chain, and we alone can break it. No action can give you freedom, only knowledge can make you free. Knowledge is irresistible. The mind cannot take it or reject it. When it comes, the mind has to accept it. So it is not a work of the mind, only its expression comes in the mind. Work or worship is to bring you back to your own nature. It is an entire illusion that the self is the body. So, even while living here in the body, we can be free. The body has nothing in common with the self. Illusion is taking the real for the unreal, not nothing at all. Next, on 1895, July 17th, Wednesday, what Swami Vivekananda taught. Raamaanuja divides the universe into Chit, Achit, and Ishvara, man, nature, and God, conscious, subconscious, and superconscious. Shankara, on the contrary, says that Chit, the soul, is the same as God. God is truth, is knowledge, is infinity. Satyam, Jnanam, Anantam, Brahma. These are not qualities. Any thought of God is a qualification, and all that can be said of Him is Om Tat Sat. Shankara further asks, can you see existence separate from everything else? Where is the differentiation between two objects? Not in sense perception, else all would be one in it. We have to perceive in sequence. In getting knowledge of what a thing is, we get also something which it is not. The differentiate are in the memory. Differentiations are in memory and are got by comparison with what is stored there. Difference is not in the nature of a thing, it is in the brain. Homogeneous one is outside, differentiate are inside in the mind. So, the idea of many is the creation of the mind itself. Differentiate become qualities when they are separate but joined in one object. We cannot say positively what differentiation is. All that we see and feel about things is pure and simple existence. Isness, all else is in us. Being is the only positive proof we have of anything. All differentiation is really secondary reality. As the snake in the rope, because the serpent too had a certain reality, in that something was seen, although misapprehended. When the knowledge of the rope becomes negative, the knowledge of the snake becomes positive, and vice versa. But the fact that you see only one does not prove that the other is non existent. The idea of the world is an obstruction covering the idea of God and is to be removed, but it does have an existence. Shankara says again, he doesn't reject the world, but he says it is an illusion. It is there, but it is a illusory. It is not the truth. That's all he says. It's just a covering around the pure existence of God. Shankara says again, perception is the last proof of existence. It is self effulgent and self conscious because to go beyond the senses, we should still need perception. Perception is independent of all the senses, of all instruments, unconditioned. There can be no perception without consciousness. Perception has a self luminosity, which in a lesser degree is called consciousness. Not one act of perception can be unconscious. In fact, consciousness is the nature of perception. Existence and perception are one thing, not two things joined together. That which is infinite, so as perception is the last, it is eternal. It is always subjective, is its own perceiver. Perception is not. Perception brings mind. It is absolute, the only knower. So, perception is really the Atman. Perception itself perceives, but the Atman cannot be a knower because a knower becomes a such by the action of knowledge. But Shankara says this Atman is not I because the consciousness I am, Aham, is not the Atman. We are but the reflections of that Atman, and Atman and Brahman are one. When you talk and think of the Absolute, you have to do it in the relative. So, all these logical arguments apply. In yoga, perception and realization are one. Vishishta Advaita, of which Raamaanuja is the exponent, is seeing partial unity and is a step toward Advaita. Vishishta means differentiation. Prakriti is the nature of the world and change comes upon it. Changeful thoughts expressed in changeful words can never prove the absolute. You reach only something that is minus certain qualities, not Brahman itself, only a verbal unification, the highest abstraction, but not the non existence of the relative. So, next one we will see in the next session. Hare Ram. Om Tat Sat. Swami Vivekananda Charanaravindar Pitamastu. Sajjanas Santu Nirbhayaha.